It was a clear night in Phoenix, Arizona, March 13, 1997. Thousands of people looked up. They saw something impossible. A massive V-shaped craft moved silently across the sky. It was dark, blocking out the stars. It had 5 bright lights. The object was huge, maybe a mile wide. It moved slowly, without a sound. No engine roar, no sonic boom, just a silent, majestic presence gliding over the city. People grabbed their cameras. They called the news stations. They called the police. What was it? Was it a secret military plane? Was it from another world? The event would later be called the Phoenix Lights. The official explanations came quickly. High-altitude flares, they said. A-10 Warthog aircraft on a training exercise. But the stories didn't quite line up. Flares don't fly in a perfect, rigid formation. They don't block out the stars behind them. The sheer size of the object defied any known aircraft. For the thousands who saw it, the official story felt thin, like a hastily constructed curtain to hide something much bigger. They knew what they saw. It was real. It was enormous. And it was gone as quietly as it arrived, leaving behind a sky full of questions and a city buzzing with speculation and wonder. What they didn't know was that they were right. It wasn't flares. It wasn't a standard military drill. They were witnessing the departure of the most ambitious project in human history. The silent giant craft was not arriving. It was leaving. It was the Phoenix Arc 7, a vessel built in secrecy deep within the Arizona desert. Its destination was not another Air Force base. Its destination was another galaxy. The lights people saw were the final burn of its low observability engines as it broke free from Earth's gravity. Humanity was taking its first step into the interstellar void, and almost no one on the planet knew it was happening. That night marked the beginning of a legend. The Phoenix Lights became a permanent fixture in UFO lore, a mystery debated for decades. But for a select few, it was not a mystery. It was a farewell. It was the last glimpse of a vessel carrying 6,000 of Earth's best and brightest on a one-way journey into the unknown. The government cover-up was not just about hiding a secret aircraft. It was about hiding the fact that a small piece of humanity had just left home forever, carrying the hopes of the species on a silent voyage to the stars. The real story was infinitely more complex and profound than any alien sighting. The crew of the Phoenix Arc 7 was not assembled through normal channels. There were no public announcements, no job postings on the early internet. The recruitment was a ghost operation, a masterpiece of discretion. It started with a simple, archaic piece of technology, a pager. Across the globe, 6,000 pagers beeped at the exact same moment. They belonged to physicists in Germany, botanists in Japan, engineers in India, and doctors in Canada. They were the best in their fields. Not just brilliant, but innovative, resilient, and psychologically stable. They were the people you'd want to rebuild civilization if you had to. The message on their pagers was short and cryptic. A string of numbers, a set of coordinates, a time. There was no explanation, no sender ID, just the raw data. For anyone else, it would have been a glitch, a wrong number. But these individuals had been vetted for years, sometimes without their knowledge. They were people who recognized patterns, who were driven by curiosity. They understood this was no mistake. This was a call, a summons to something far beyond their daily research and academic pursuits. They had to make a choice, and they had to make it fast, based on nothing but instinct and a lifetime of intellectual discipline. They arrived one by one at discrete locations, a quiet airfield, a nondescript warehouse, a forgotten research outpost. There, they were briefed. The truth was laid out in stark, unbelievable terms. They were being invited to join a one-way mission to the Andromeda galaxy, a journey that would take thousands of years. They would leave their lives, their families, their world behind. They would become the vanguards of humanity, cosmic pioneers tasked with ensuring the long-term survival of the species. They were given 24 hours to decide. No contact with the outside world was permitted. The weight of the decision was immense, a burden of galactic proportions. Against all odds, they all said yes, every single one of them. The 6,000 brilliant minds, the artists, the scientists, the technicians, all chose the unknown over the known. They signed non-disclosure agreements that were more like testaments. They vanished from their old lives. To their colleagues, they had taken a sabbatical. To their families, they had accepted a top-secret research position in a remote location. The lies were a necessary, painful part of the process. They walked away from everything they had ever known, stepping onto a path that led to the stars, united by a shared purpose and an incredible silent promise. The Phoenix Arc 7 was not built by a government space agency. It was the secret child of Lockheed Martin's legendary advanced development programs, better known as Skunk Works. Hidden away in a massive underground facility in the Arizona desert, the project was shielded from satellite surveillance and public view. This was where impossible ideas became reality. Skunk Works was famous for building the U-2 spy plane and the SR-71 Blackbird. The Arc 7 was their ultimate creation, a vessel designed to last for millennia and cross the unimaginable gulf between galaxies. It was a self-contained world, an ark for humanity's future. The ship's technology was decades, if not centuries, ahead of its time. Its hull was forged from a revolutionary memory metal. This material could withstand micrometeoroid impacts by deforming and then slowly returning to its original shape. It was paired with a self-healing system. A network of microscopic nanotubes filled with a reactive polymer ran through the hull. If a breach occurred, the polymer would be exposed to the vacuum of space, instantly hardening to seal the hole. This meant the ship could repair itself, a critical feature for a journey where there were no cosmic repair stations or tow services. Inside, the Arc 7 was a marvel of bioengineering. It contained a fully enclosed, self-sustaining ecosystem. Vast hydroponic bays grew crops under carefully calibrated LED lights, recycling every drop of water and every ounce of organic waste. The air was purified by genetically engineered algae that were hyper-efficient at converting carbon dioxide into oxygen. For nutrition, the crew relied on advanced 3D food printers. These systems could assemble meals at a molecular level, using stored base proteins, carbohydrates, and lipids. They could replicate anything from a steak to a fresh apple, ensuring both physical health and psychological comfort. Of course, the universe is not always a friendly place. The Arc 7 was built for exploration, but it was also built for survival. It was armed. Its primary defenses included a series of high-energy laser and plasma cannons, capable of vaporizing incoming threats from asteroids to hostile craft. For more serious encounters, the ship carried a payload of tactical nuclear warheads. These were not crude, city-destroying bombs, but precision-guided munitions designed to disable or destroy enemy vessels with focused blasts. The Arc 7 was a scientific vessel, a vessel of peace, but it was not by any means defenseless. The disappearance of 6,000 of the world's leading experts did not go unnoticed. Questions were asked. Colleagues grew suspicious. Journalists started connecting the dots between brilliant minds suddenly taking sabbaticals. This is where the governments of the world played their part. A coordinated, global campaign of disinformation was launched. The cover-up was almost as complex as the mission itself. It was a silent agreement between rival nations, a conspiracy of silence for what was deemed the greater good of the human species. The secret of the Phoenix Arc 7 had to be protected at all costs. Official inquiries were met with bureaucratic brick walls. Records were altered or lost. Employment histories were rewritten. When a persistent journalist from a German newspaper started investigating the simultaneous disappearance of 3 top physicists, he was met with a carefully crafted story. The physicists, his sources told him, had been headhunted by a reclusive tech billionaire for a private research initiative in the South Pacific. The story was plausible enough to kill the investigation. Similar tales were spun worldwide, each tailored to the specific circumstances, creating a web of plausible deniability that was impossible to untangle. The biggest piece of the puzzle was the launch itself. How do you hide a mile-wide spaceship leaving the planet? You don't. You simply give people a different explanation for what they are seeing. The Phoenix Lights event was the perfect cover. It was so strange, so otherworldly, that it was destined to become a UFO legend. The government's official denial, attributing the lights to military flares, was intentionally weak. It fueled the debate between believers and skeptics, creating so much noise that the real truth was drowned out. The world was arguing about aliens, while the real story, the human story, slipped away into the night unnoticed. This wall of secrecy created an aura of profound mystery that has lasted for decades. For the families left behind, there was a quiet, gnawing uncertainty. They received periodic, pre-written messages designed to maintain the illusion that their loved ones were safe and busy with terrestrial work. But as years turned into decades, the silence grew deeper. The fate of the Phoenix Arc 7 and its crew became one of the planet's greatest unspoken secrets, a ghost story whispered only in the highest corridors of power. The world moved on, oblivious to the fact that its most daring explorers were already light years from home. The core purpose of the Phoenix Arc 7 was twofold. First and foremost, it was a mission of survival. The project's secret benefactors, a consortium of visionary scientists and quiet government figures, recognized the fragility of life on a single planet. An asteroid, a supervolcano, a man-made catastrophe, any number of events could end humanity's story. The Arc 7 was the ultimate insurance policy. Its mission was to travel to the Andromeda galaxy and identify a habitable planet, a new Earth, where a second branch of civilization could take root. It was a desperate gamble to ensure that the light of human consciousness would not be extinguished. The second part of the mission was communication. The ship was not meant to be a lost colony, forever severed from its home. It was equipped with a quantum entanglement communicator. This theoretical device would allow for instantaneous communication over any distance. However, the energy required to send a message was colossal. It was not for casual conversation. It was for transmitting vast packets of data back to a secret receiver hidden deep underground in the Utah desert. The plan was to send updates on their progress, on the worlds they discovered, and on the science they uncovered. These transmissions were the ultimate message in a cosmic bottle. They would contain detailed astronomical charts, atmospheric analyses of exoplanets, and biological data from alien worlds if any were found. This information would be a treasure trove for the scientists back on Earth, accelerating our understanding of the universe by millennia. The crew of the Arc 7 were not just settlers, they were scouts. They were charting the unknown, paving the way for future generations who might one day follow in their path. Their journey was a gift to a future they would never see. The burden of this mission was immense. The crew knew that for thousands of years, their communication would be a one-way street. They could send information home, but they could not receive a reply. The power requirements were too great for Earth's technology to send a signal back across the intergalactic void. They would report their findings, their successes, and their failures into a silent abyss, trusting that someone was still listening. They were humanity's lonely sentinels, speaking to a past that could not answer, all for the sake of an uncertain future. The first few years of the journey were a test of the ship's systems and the crew's resolve. Once the Phoenix Arc 7 cleared the solar system and passed beyond the Kuiper Belt, it entered true deep space. The sun became just another bright star in the rearview mirror. Here, the dangers were subtle but constant. The void was not empty. It was filled with rogue comets, interstellar dust clouds, and the faint but persistent threat of high-energy cosmic rays. The ship's advanced navigation systems and deflector shields were constantly at work, charting a safe path through the cosmic minefield. The psychological pressure was immense. The 6,000 crew members had to adapt to a life where the only horizon was the star-dusted bulkhead of the ship. They were a microcosm of humanity, a small town floating in an infinite ocean. To combat the crushing isolation, a rich and vibrant culture was cultivated. The ship had theaters, art studios, and sports arenas. Social structures formed, relationships were built, and children were born. The first generation of humans to know only the starship as their home. They were the children of the void, their destiny tied to the metal walls around them. One of the first major challenges came in the form of a previously unobserved rogue planet. It was a dark, cold giant, hurtling through interstellar space without a parent star. The Arc 7's long-range sensors detected its gravitational pull just in time. Evasive maneuvers required a massive expenditure of fuel, pushing the ship's engines to their limits. For 3 tense weeks, the crew worked in shifts, plotting a new course and reinforcing sections of the ship against the intense gravitational shear. They passed the dark planet close enough to see its faint frozen methane atmosphere, a stark reminder of the hidden dangers lurking in the darkness. This encounter, while perilous, was also a scientific opportunity. The ship deployed probes to study the rogue planet, gathering data that no Earth-based telescope could ever hope to capture. They discovered it had a subsurface ocean, kept liquid by tidal forces from a large, unseen moon. The data packet they sent back to Earth was revolutionary, proving the existence of such worlds and opening up new possibilities for where life might be found. The journey was fraught with peril, but every challenge overcome was another chapter written in their epic Cosmic Odyssey, another secret whispered back across the void. Decades blurred into centuries. Generations were born, lived their entire lives, and passed away within the confines of the Phoenix Arc 7. The original crew from Earth were legends, their stories passed down like ancient myths. The ship's society evolved, creating its own traditions, its own art, its own history. The mission, however, remained unchanged. Every member of the crew, from the captain to the hydroponic farmer, knew their purpose: to reach Andromeda and find a new home. The ship's AI, a sentient system named Daedalus, served as the mission's constant guide and historian, its memory holding the collective knowledge of humanity. The journey through the intergalactic void, the vast, mostly empty space between the Milky Way and Andromeda, was the most grueling phase of the voyage. Here, there were no stars for thousands of years, just a profound, unending darkness ahead, and the faint, shrinking whirlpool of the Milky Way behind. This was a true test of psychological endurance. The ship's ecosystem had to be perfectly balanced, its recycling systems working flawlessly. Any major failure would be catastrophic, with no hope of rescue or external resources. The crew lived on a knife's edge, their survival dependent on technology and their own discipline. During this long crossing, they encountered phenomena that defied known physics. They navigated through a current of dark matter that subtly warped space-time around the ship, forcing Daedalus to constantly recalculate their trajectory. They witnessed the birth of a star from a collapsing nebula, a violent and beautiful spectacle that played out over years. They even had to outrun the shockwave from a distant hypernova, a blast of gamma radiation so powerful it could have sterilized the ship. Each event was a reminder of how little humanity truly understood about the universe it was trying to conquer. These experiences changed the people aboard the Ark 7. They were no longer just humans from Earth. They were children of the void, shaped by the cosmos itself. Their perspective was fundamentally different. They viewed time in terms of millennia and distance in light years. The problems of Earth, politics, borders, conflicts, seemed like distant, quaint memories from a long-lost childhood. Their focus was singular, their purpose pure. They were the keepers of a sacred trust, carrying the seed of humanity across the greatest desert imaginable, their eyes fixed on the faint, growing smudge of light that was their destination, the Andromeda Galaxy. After thousands of years of travel, the Phoenix Ark 7 finally reached the outer spiral arms of the Andromeda Galaxy. The view from the forward observation deck was breathtaking. A new sky, filled with unfamiliar constellations, new nebulae, and the brilliant, dense core of a galaxy containing 1 trillion stars. The crew, descendants of the original pioneers, felt a sense of awe and accomplishment that transcended generations. They had made it. The search for a new home could begin in earnest. They started by sending probes to a promising-looking yellow dwarf star system, cataloged as C734. The probes sent back tantalizing data. The fourth planet in the C734 system had liquid water, a nitrogen-oxygen atmosphere, and signs of widespread vegetation. It was a perfect candidate, a potential new Earth. But the probes also sent back something else: evidence of artificial structures, cities. The planet was inhabited. This was the moment humanity had wondered about for its entire history. First contact. The ship's council, led by a captain who was a 10th-generation descendant of an original crew member, debated their next move. The protocol was clear: observe, do not interfere. But they were not given a choice. As the Ark 7 moved into a higher orbit to begin its passive observation, they were met by a fleet of alien vessels. They were sleek, biological-looking ships that moved with an unnatural agility. Their intentions became clear very quickly. They were not here to say hello. A hostile message, translated by Daedalus as a territorial warning, flashed across the Ark's communication systems. It was a simple demand: leave this territory or be destroyed. The inhabitants of C734, it seemed, were not interested in sharing their corner of the galaxy. The battle was swift and brutal. The alien ships fired projectiles that seemed to phase through the Ark's deflector shields. The self-healing hull was pushed to its limits, sealing dozens of breaches per second. The crew responded with their own arsenal. High-energy plasma cannons tore through the organic hulls of the smaller alien fighters. When a larger cruiser moved in to attack, the captain made a difficult choice. She authorized the launch of a single, low-yield nuclear warhead. The detonation disabled the alien cruiser without destroying it, a show of force intended to end the conflict. The remaining alien ships retreated, leaving the Ark 7 damaged but victorious. The first contact was a baptism by fire, a harsh lesson that the universe was not only full of wonders, but also of dangers. The encounter with the hostile aliens in the C-734 system left a permanent scar on the crew of the Phoenix Ark-7. They had survived, but the dream of a peaceful new beginning on the first habitable world they found was shattered. They were now explorers in hostile territory. After repairing the ship, they sent one final, massive data packet back to Earth. It contained everything: the details of their journey, the discovery of the habitable but occupied planet, and footage of their first interstellar battle. It was a warning and a testament, their complete story sent across the void. Then, they fell silent. Back on Earth, in the 21st century, the secret program continues. The receiver in Utah still listens, a silent monument to the audacious mission launched in 1997. The data packets from the Ark-7, arriving instantaneously thanks to quantum entanglement, have revolutionized science in secret. Our understanding of cosmology, physics, and xenobiology is centuries ahead of what is publicly known. But this knowledge is a heavy burden, held by a select few who know that humanity is not alone, and that the galaxy is not necessarily welcoming. The final transmission from the Ark-7 poses a profound and unanswered question. What happened to the ship and its crew after that last message? Did they find another uninhabited world to call home? Did they continue their exploration, becoming hardened nomads of the Andromeda galaxy? Or did they fall victim to another, more powerful foe, their great journey ending in silence and fire so far from home? The quantum communicator only worked one way. We can only listen, and for years there has been nothing but the static of the void. The legacy of the Phoenix Ark-7 remains a ghost story, an echo of humanity's secret ambition. Those 6,000 souls and the generations they spawned are the ultimate pioneers. They are the lost tribe of humanity, their fate unknown. Perhaps one day, a new signal will arrive, a new chapter in their story. Or perhaps thousands of years from now, our own descendants will travel to Andromeda and find their trail. Until then, we can only look up at the night sky, at that faint smudge of light that is a neighboring galaxy, and wonder, what became of the Phoenix Ark-7, and what tales are waiting to be told by humanity's secret children among the stars?